So, who are we to judge? We shouldn't judge people, we should help them. And there's probably nothing more we can do to live a worthwhile life than to help people. To help other people. And in helping other people, I promise you will be rewarded and you will be helping yourself too. We see men tested beyond anything we can imagine. And still they overcome the pain and the suffering and the fear. And yet we can't get ourselves out of bed in the morning. We can't move toward a goal we've set for ourselves. Don't allow that.
I don't care what you think of me. Your opinion of me does not matter at all. Well, you got to know your heart pretty good to be able to say that.
Be careful what you speak. Ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, ex-wives, ex-friends. They are speaking negatively about you, but don't join in. Protect yourself. Cover your tracks. But be careful what you speak, because you are empowering negative behavior.
I believe that some of the worst pain that we experience in life comes from people falsely accusing us and judging us. When they don't know us, or they don't know anything about us, and they don't bother to find out, they just take a look and have an opinion. How many of you have ever been hurt deeply by someone who judged you and criticized you, and you just thought, you don't even know what you're talking about? Well, one of the best ways to keep those kind of things from happening to us is not to dish it out to other people.
Who are you to judge? God has a job to do. Let him judge. Who are you to judge? You are being judged for judging. We all have to speak upon negative things and negative people, but try your best to pray for your enemies. Try your best to speak positivity and hope and saying, you know what, I don't like what you're saying and I don't like what you're doing, but I'm going to continue to pray for you. I'm going to continue to hope and speak blessings and opportunities in your life, because maybe you're bored. That's why you continue to just sit around and do and speak negative things. They say there's power in the tongue. So if you have power in the tongue, if you continue to speak negative things about people that are doing negative things to you, you are empowering their negative behavior. You'll notice that that negative behavior won't go away. If you speak it, someone will be it.
You remember what you are capable of if you mobilize your will. And if you keep moving forward, you keep advancing. Remember what you are capable of if you keep attacking. And don't stop. And don't stop attacking. And don't succumb to the suffering and the pain and the fear. Don't succumb, but instead move forward and attack.
Don't litigate over how much you have a right to have what I got, because until you suffered what I suffered, floated through what I floated through, survived what I survived, what you see on the outside is a reflection of the conflict on the inside. I could go home now, going through your life, saying, what do you see? Going through the trunk of your car, through your garage, through your house, what you see on the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside.
We never have enough information to judge anyone. I want you to remember that. We know what we know, and there's a lot more that we don't know than that we know, usually about every individual. It's interesting to me that nobody ever judges me, or nobody ever judges you if they have what you have. People only judge us when they don't have what we have, and so therefore it's not even really what the word true judgment is all about. It's just jealousy. And they're not even mad because you have it, they're mad because they don't have it.
Remember, be a student, not a follower. And here's what you must always do. Design your own personal life. I'm very happy for people to take notes at my seminar, but I'm also just as happy if somebody says, hey, this is not for me, tear up all these notes and throw them away. That's just as valid for me. Remember, be no one's disciple. Chart your own course. Make what you do the product of your own conclusion. What I'm saying here is be your own person. You don't have to be a model of someone else. You don't have to do it like anybody else, right? Do it like yourself. Buy what you want to buy, listen to what you want to listen to, make changes if you want to make changes, and don't make changes, right? It's your life, I'm telling you. And don't let anybody persuade you any different. Success is not a stereotype.
But when you continue to speak negative things about people that have done negative things to you, you are also continuing the cycle of negativity. You are speaking negative things into their life. Therefore, you are inspiring the negativity to continue. If you speak positive things into people that have done wrong by you, especially if they're continuing to do negative things to you and on your behalf, you are therefore trying to speak a positive transition from them being a negative and horrible person. You are trying your best to speak positivity into their life so that they can now start becoming a better person and a more positive person. It goes back to the saying, pray for your enemies.
Most people in a fearful situation, they forget everything and run, but there are few that in a fearful situation, they face everything and rise with courage. And that's who you are. And when you're going outside of your comfort zone, it takes courage. Most people, the majority of people, die within their comfort zone. They're not risk takers. They go through life trying to play it safe. There's no safe position in life. There's no safe position in life. You can't get out of life alive. You got to die to leave here. And so this is a time.
Success is the continual unfolding of the design of your own life and pulling it off. That's what success is. The continual unfolding of the design of your own personal life and pulling it off. Whatever degree you wish, that is success. Successful in doing whatever you want to do that makes sense to you, for you, your family, your responsibilities, or take on responsibilities or refuse responsibilities. That's strictly all up to you. We've been given the power of choice. Every life form except human beings operates by instinct in the genetic code. It has no multiple choice. Only humans have multiple choice. In the winter, the goose flies south. Why? Because he's a goose. If you said to the goose, it'd be better to go west this year, he ignores that advice, keeps on flying south. Why? Has no alternative, has no other way. He is only driven. All life form is driven by instinct in the genetic code except human beings. Now, why not human beings? Because here it is. We've been given the dignity of choice. We're not like a robot. We're not stuck like a tree, using up all the nourishment, nothing left, now you die because you can't change location. Not true. Humans can go north, south, east, west. Humans can change, do anything they want to do. We've been given the dignity. But here's what's interesting about all life form except humans. Every life form except humans strives to the max of its potential. How tall will a tree grow? As tall as it possibly can. You never heard of a tree growing half as high as it could. No. A tree grows as high as it can, drives down every root it can, produces every leaf it can, extends itself as far as it possibly can. Every life form extends to the max, except human beings. Now, why not human beings? Because we're not robots. We've been given the dignity of choice. And here's a couple of alternatives on the dignity of choice. To be part of or all of. you have the potential to be. And you got the choice. Do a little to make yourself comfortable and forget the rest, or do it all. And there's nobody here to dictate you got to do it all. That's nonsense. You got to be rich because we live in a rich country. That's nonsense. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to do it all. You can do a little, do some more. Take advice, but don't take orders. Take information, take training, take teaching, but don't take orders from no one that tells you how you need to live and what you need to own and what you need to do. Somebody says, well, you need to be successful. That's a personal choice, being successful. What we teach is the possibilities, and everybody chooses. Take a little, take a lot, do some, do nothing. Ignore the subject. You've got to learn to do that. Abraham Lincoln said, since I would be no one's slave, I will be no one's master. Excellent philosophy. If a guy says, hey, I'm soon cashing it in, I'm heading for the mountains, I'm going to live in a little cabin, live off the land, and feed the squirrels. If he goes and does that, guess what? He's a smashing success. Why? He's doing what he designed to do and went and did it, pulled it off. You can't say, no, that's not successful. That is the epitome of success. It's giving a design to your life and go pull it off, making progress in that direction that satisfies you. If it doesn't satisfy you, make alternatives and you change. And if you get some better ideas, sure, you may follow someone's suggestion and ideas, but not orders. Design your own life like you want it that will fit. Now, if you take on some responsibilities, now you got to consider those. Yes, you can ignore your responsibilities, but you won't feel good about that. Guess what the old prophet said? Some things that taste good now in the mouth turns bitter later in the belly. So you don't want to sacrifice. We all must suffer one of two pains. Regardless of your choice of lifestyle and what you want to do, we must all suffer one of two pains. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And what we suggest to everybody is to consider the disciplines, because disciplines weigh ounces, regrets weigh tons. You don't want to substitute a discipline for a regret. In our opinion, that would be a poor choice. Now, you can do it, but some things are poor trade-offs. The old prophet said, what if you gained the whole world, but it cost you your soul? Would that be worth it? With a bit of intelligence, we say, no, that doesn't seem worth it. Even if you got the whole world, if you traded your soul, that experience would be so bitter and so awful and so devastating, it wouldn't be worth it. What if you got some gain by greed instead of legitimate ambition? I'm telling you, it might taste good up front, but it's going to turn bitter in the belly. And a bit of that advice saves some people from devastation. Say, well, you're right. I better think twice about that. So we must confront all laws, spiritual laws, agricultural laws, basic laws, fundamental laws. We must confront all of those. But you still now can design your own life. A little, a lot, go east, north, south. Don't put yourself in the straitjacket of something that's not to your choosing and not to your liking. Now, if you really want the prize, to become a multi-millionaire and run a company, fine. Then you got to pay the price. But hey, it's strictly up to you. There's no requirements here. Where is it written? There is no law. The key is to try to design your life. Yes, you might try something and say, hey, this cost me too much. I'm away from my family. I'm gone. So this is valid. Little girl said to her mommy, said, Daddy never plays with me. Comes home and he's got this briefcase and he disappears and works on his papers and tells me to go to bed. And she tried to explain, said, look, your father loves you very much, but he's so busy at work. He can't get everything done. He has to bring it home. She said, why don't they just put him in a slower group? If you haven't got time for your kids, you should consider a slower group. It's not the money. It's not the success. You got to make sure everything works. Not something at the expense of everything. And this something at the expense of everything turns out to be too costly. Life in its best and most fulfilled, I think, is a balancing act to make everything work. A mother's got the challenge, a father's got the challenge. And all of this imbalances, even the tug of war and trying to make it work as husband and wife with, a little different concepts. Guy's a baseball player and gets $4 or $5 million a year, and his talent takes him 185 games, whatever the games are that they play. That's a pretty tough one to do, gone most of the time. Should he go where his talent leads, or should he work at the bank from 9 to 5? It's a challenge. to try to fit, compromise, make it work, make all systems work so you don't sacrifice everything for something. And it's all a dilemma. She says, go conquer the world and be home by 5 o'clock. And he says, well, that's a real challenge, right? But if you've got partners now, it's this combination of working it out. But let me tell you what, it can be worked out. Here's what happens if you ignore it. It just gets worse. You just got to confront and say, let us work it out so that we bless our life with all of the systems that furnish us with a good life. And guess what? It never ends, this trying to balance your life with everything. Getting in charge, mastering the situation, this is the big challenge. I remember some companies I started years ago. I'd start the company, I'm running the company. First thing you know, the company's running me. And along about that second year, I say, hold it. I used to be in charge. And now I'm out of control. I used to have it on the run. Now it's got me on the run. And the same is true whether it's a company or an enterprise or whether it's the day. The key is you just got to take charge and say, I'm going to start getting a handle and taking charge of my day and not let it get out of control. Because it's so easy to be persuaded and distracted by, things that use up time, take up time, and then first thing you know, it's all out of control. Here's the key we've all learned, maybe we just need to be reminded. It's not the hours you put in, it's what you put in the hours that count. Guy comes home at night, exhausted, falls into the chair and says, I've been going. Here's the key, doing what? Here's what we learned, don't mistake movement for achievement. Busy, that may not be the deal. It is the doing what that's the deal. Some people are busy all day long doing figure eights. They're not making much forward progress. Keep coming back around where they started. Learn to set goals so that you have some priorities. Priorities, constant review. Make sure it's what you really want. Let it change, do whatever it wants to change. Learn to separate majors and minors. Here's something that requires minor time, here's something that requires major time. Is this all helpful? Wow, I'm excited about sharing, seeing if it'll create some value for you.
Instead of finding fault in others, we should all work to be the best people we can be and identify our own strengths and weaknesses. In other words, before we judge someone from our own viewpoint, we should take the time to take a very close look at ourselves, because none of us are perfect.
If you make it to the end of this video, just write on my timeline, from this point on, I will be careful of what I speak. Then I'll know you made it to the end of this video. And I want you to share this video. Why would you watch this video, be inspired by this video, and decide to keep it to yourself? From this point on, I will be careful of the negative things I speak. I love you.
So it's a constant evolution, man. I've never arrived.
So what I do every day is I prime myself for what I want rather than letting the environment control me. We've all had times when you snapped at somebody and you felt bad because it wasn't them, it was the state you're in.
Number one, that you deserve your goal. Number two, that whatever you've done thus far is only a mere fraction of what's possible for you.
How do I get it? Believe me when I say that you have a gift. You have a passion about that gift and the right plan. You can leverage that gift to fulfill a dream. Believe me when I say this. It's true. It's no less true than the law of gravity, or that 2 + 2 is 4. Believe in this truth and you will have the attitude you need to succeed.
I'm that's right now, I'm stressing out 2-3 hours a day. I'm trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm like, oh man, I went through Navy SEAL training being fucked up. I ran over 7,000 miles in 2007 being fucked up. I did pull-up records being fucked up. Now, that the mind is so fucking strong, that the body catch the mind. So that's now where I'm at. So I'm always trying to reinvent the wheel and see what I'm capable of next.
Right? Well, there's no excuse for that. If you prime yourself, you set yourself up. But the way I did it is I do this process. It's 10 minutes, I put some music on, I do this massive change in my breathing so it radically changes the way I feel. And then I do this 3-step process. First, I do 3 minutes of gratitude where I think of 3 things I'm really grateful for, and I don't think of it up there, I feel it. And the reason is, when you're grateful, you can't be worried. You can't be fearful. When you're grateful, you can't be angry. And anger and fear are what screw people up most in their relationships, in their life, in their business. So I wire myself. I was saying to you that most people want to be happy, but their habit is to be worried or pissed off or frustrated or stressed. And so they've got a highway to stress and they got a dirt road to happiness. So I wire myself. I've got a highway to gratitude, which changes all your emotions. And then I do a 3-minute process of kind of a prayer for my family and friends. And then I do a 3-minute process of the top 3 things I want to accomplish. I see it as done and I feel it. I'm done in 10 minutes. So sometimes I go 20, but my deal is 10, so there's no excuse not to do it.
Can you imagine getting to the end of your life, looking back only to discover that you only used 10% of what was given you? Jim Rohn said something I like very much. He said, when the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old. So I'm urging you to continue to be a mountain conqueror. But I don't know what your goals are. My goal is to be the best son that I can be to my mother. My goal is to be the best father that I can be to my children. My goal is to be the best servant that I can be to mankind. I'm asking that God use me so that I can begin to help thousands of kids across this country, like Mr. Washington helped me. I asked him, I said, what can I do to pay you back? He said, pass it on. So whatever your goals are, this is what I'm known by that's on my tapes. It says simply this, that if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, famish, or gulf, sickness or pain of body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God you'll get it.
To change people's lives by sending me through a process that was so hard for me to overcome. When somebody like you stands up and asks me a question, I know the answer without even thinking, because I've been processed. I've been homeless, so I know exactly what you're feeling. You feel me? Listen, man, like I told all my kids have a college education. I told them all, I don't care what you get a degree in. Until you follow your dream and connect it to your gift, you'll never be happy. You'll never be happy, man. I just gotta tell you, you got to chase that dream before you die, man. You should go and live your dream. Just go see. God puts your real life in your imagination. That's where your real life ain't in your present circumstance.
A person with one or more talents who uses them to succeed. They identify their talents and work with and improve them to achieve their goals. Physical or performing arts. Talents likely aren't transferable to the practice of law or business. Being athletic or having a broad vocal range aren't going to. Help when trying a case or starting a business.
Perhaps it's shrinking the time frame down. The sooner we must do something, the more desperate it becomes. In other words, if something has to be done within 10 years, how desperate is that? But if it has to become sooner and sooner and sooner, or even if there just has to be a real date put on it, gives us some desperation knowing that date is coming sometime soon. So what is your plan and strategy to increase your desperation, increase your hunger level, and then focus? What's your plan to increase focus? Oftentimes that could be a plan to eliminate distractions. What's your strategy to eliminate distractions? Might be, I watch too much television at night and it distracts me from my goal. Perhaps you should remove that television from the room. That's a plan and a strategy to eliminate the distraction. Perhaps it's you're being on the internet too long or playing video games. Maybe you need to eliminate them. Perhaps in your nutrition, you're trying to get fit. The distraction are snacks that you have in your home or alcohol. Maybe they need to be removed from your home. What is your strategy and plan to eliminate distractions and increase focus?
Your real life is not in your current situation. Your real life is not in your paycheck. Your real life, he tucks it away in your imagination. Albert Einstein said, imagination is everything. It's a preview to life's coming attractions. Everything you imagine is a preview to a coming attraction. Once you understand that and quit looking at your imagination as hocus pocus, it opens up a wide range of things and possibilities. And God puts your real life in your imagination. Listen to me. This is serious what I'm telling you. Don't you think it's nothing else. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. That simply means everything that's in your imagination is a preview of a coming attraction that God has for you. That's why he puts it in your imagination. That's why when you tell your imagination to the wrong people, it don't go nowhere.
Because without the evaluation, without the intention, and without the plan and strategy, an actual plan to increase desperation, an actual plan and strategy, get creative, get resourceful. It's only with a plan that you can begin to make changes and a strategy. Otherwise, it's just a thought. And then fourth, what immediate massive action are you going to take right now? I'm talking about right when this audio or video ends. What's the immediate first massive action you're going to take towards that plan? The first step, it's unplug the TV, it's remove the video game, it's throw out the junk food, it's remove a certain person from your life. I don't know what it is, but what is the immediate massive action? Because if we can evaluate where we are and get very clear, because we can't know where we're going if we're not very clear about where we are. In other words, if life is like a GPS and we want to get to a particular destination, the only way we can get clear on getting there is to understand and evaluate and be specific about where we currently are.
Focus on those talents that would help you achieve your goals. Were they natural communicators, leaders, managers, visionaries? What talents did they have that would help you? More importantly, which of these talents are ones you have? Once you identify the talents, study how they use them, apply them, and develop them. When did the talents come in handy?
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
I mean, the technology is great. You know, it's lots of fun, very helpful, makes a lot of things easy. But like anything in the world, there is too much of a good thing, you know? And I think one of the things we don't talk about is what is the balance of technology in our lives. And I would argue that for many of us, it's out of balance. We know that the chemical dopamine is released whenever we get a bing, buzz, flash, or beep from our phone or email, right? So dopamine is the exact same chemical that's released in alcohol, nicotine, and gambling, right? In other words, it can be addictive if left unbalanced. A little alcohol is great. Too much alcohol, not so great. Gambling is fun. Too much gambling, really bad, right? Technology is wonderful. Too much technology can be very destructive and destroy our relationships, like all addictions destroy our relationships, right? And so one of the things we're not considering is what is the right balance. If you wake up in the morning and you check your phone before you say good morning to your spouse, that's a problem, right? If you have phantom beeps, that's a problem. That comes from something, right? If you find yourself incapable of getting through a day without needing to check, that's a problem, right? Now, where it gets really dangerous is with kids, millennials. Some of them aren't kids anymore.
Right.
So almost all alcoholics on the planet discovered alcohol when they were children. When we're very, very young, the only thing we need is the approval of our parents. Right? When we go through adolescence, we now need approval from our peers. Frustrating for our parents, but very important for us because it allows us to acculturate outside of our immediate families into the larger group, right? Very stressful time, and we're supposed to learn in this time of anxiety to rely on our friends, to reach out to our friends for help. That's what we're supposed to learn. Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol, and then they learn the numbing effects of dopamine actually help them get through the stress of adolescence. This connection, unfortunately, becomes hardwired. And so for the rest of their lives, when they face any kind of financial, career, or social stress, they don't turn to a person, they turn to the bottle, right? Now, we have age restrictions on alcohol, cigarettes, and gambling, because we know that an immature mind is not yet strong enough or mature enough to deal with the powers of these addicting chemicals, these addictive chemicals, right? So we put an age limit. We have no such age limit or age restriction on social media or cell phones, right? So ostensibly what we've done is we've thrown open the liquor cabinet and we've said to our adolescents, hey, I know this whole adolescent thing is really stressful, so here's the vodka, take as much as you need. That's basically what we've done. And so what we have is an entire generation that's growing up addicted. And like all addicts, they haven't learned the skill set of when they suffer stress to turn to a person. What they do is they turn to the device. And what that only does is increase senses of isolation and loneliness, and can actually destroy relationships. We've all had the experience where you're with somebody, walking down the street, in a meeting, out for dinner, whatever, and they pull out their phone and you feel like an idiot, right? Or when you're talking to them and they're going, and you're sort of like, what's the point of this? Now take an entire generation that has no memory of a time before the device. We at least can reference times before cell phones and internet and social media. We at least have a point of reference. They don't. So this is their normal. But that's how they feel. So you have an entire generation growing up with addiction and an increased sense of loneliness and isolation. We're already seeing the results. We're seeing increased rates of suicide amongst this generation. We're seeing increased rates of accidental deaths due to overdoses amongst this generation. We're seeing increased numbers of mass homicides, largely performed by this generation. School shootings, over 70% perpetrated by kids born after the year 1984. Schools, universities are now dealing with numbers they've never dealt with before of kids requesting leaves of absence due to depression. We're already seeing it, right? We're seeing the effects of loneliness and isolation. We're seeing it, and yet we're not reacting to it. We're not doing anything about it, right? And parents are a lot to blame for this. Because parents, there are some schools who want to restrict phones in schools, and it's the parents who demand that they keep their phones in case of emergencies. Seriously? Seriously? When was the last time the cell phone was used for an emergency? What time are you coming home? What time should we pick you up? And if there is an emergency, you call the office, and they know what classroom the kid's in, and in 5 minutes, they'll bring the kid to talk to you on the phone. Like, the old way worked just fine. Remember we talked before about innovation. It has to solve a real human problem. What human problem exactly did we solve by compressing the 5-minute time frame? We added to the problem. We didn't solve it. So that's one huge problem. So combine that with the fact, so you have an addicted generation that doesn't have the skill set to ask for help. Combined with the fact that they're so good at Facebook and Instagram, they're good at putting filters on everything. So they're good at showing you how smart and strong they are. These kids who commit suicide, you go look at their Instagrams, you would have no clue that they were depressed. Because they're happy and they're star athletes, right? You'd have no clue because they're really good. So when we say silly things like, my door is always open, you're assuming they have the courage to come in. Combined with the fact that they're subject largely, not all, but too many, to a failed parenting strategy. Because their parents told them they were special, they could have anything they wanted, they could be anything they want, they got medals for coming in last, which by the way we know doesn't work. It devalues the medal for the one who comes in first, and the one who came in last, it makes them feel stupid because they know they didn't deserve it, right? The kids got into honors classes not because they deserved it, but because the parents complained. And some of them got good grades not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents. And then the kids graduate college, and they get a job, and in an instant, they find out they're not special. They don't get anything for coming in last. Their parents can't get them a promotion, and you can't have whatever you want just because you want it. And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-confidence than previous generations. So you have lower self-confidence than previous generations, combined with an inability to ask for help with things that you're struggling with, and you turn to social media or a device, you keep checking, you count your likes, you count your followers, and if somebody unfriends you, oh my God, it's trauma, right? The way they break up with each other is they just ghost each other, just cut each other out and stop returning texts and returning phone calls, because they don't have the skill set to say, hey, it's not working out, it's not me, it's you, right? There's no closure on things, right? Combined with the fact there's an institutionalized impatience. So they've grown up in a world of instant gratification. You want to buy something, you go on Amazon, it shows up the next day. You want to get in touch with someone, you don't leave a message on their machine and wait 4 hours for them to get the message, you just text them and they get back to you immediately. You want to watch a movie, you just log on and watch it. You don't have to check movie times, right? Everything happens instantly. You want to get a date, swipe right. You don't even have to muster up the courage to go up like, hey, you don't have to. There you go, got a date, right? And so the problem is, they're accused of being entitled. I don't think they're entitled at all. Not at all. I think they're impatient. I keep meeting these fantastic, smart, driven, ambitious, idealistic, fantastic kids who graduated school, they got a job, they want to make an impact in the world, and I go up to them and say, how's it going? And they say, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months. And it's as if they see the summit of a mountain. It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain and they can see the summit. They can see the thing they want to make an impact. What they don't see is the mountain. This large, immovable object. You can go up fast, you can go up slow, I don't care. But there's still a mountain. What they don't understand is that life, that relationships, and career fulfillment are a journey. There's no app for that. I got nothing. You gotta go through the slow, plodding, annoying, meandering process called career and life.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
You know when you're in a crowd, a football crowd of great emotional excitement, you feel like a charge of energy. Mm-hmm. The hair stands up on your neck, you know. That's electromagnetic. They're electromagnetic fields. So that's what I was feeling. But it did feel like a spider's web on my face. And I said nothing to Betty, but I'm thinking, what the hell? And then about 10 or 15 seconds later, she reels her head back and she said, my God, this is powerful. I've got to close my eyes for this one. And my bum's for going further down the... What have you got yourself into here, Ike? And she starts telling me in March 1990 that I'm going to go out on a world stage and reveal great secrets. I would face enormous opposition, but they, whatever that is, would always be there to protect me. And that there was a shadow over the world, and there was a story that needed to be told, that humanity was going to go through a phase of waking up and coming out of basically its coma, which is programming, and that I was going to go out and do that. One man cannot change the world, but one man can communicate the message that can change the world, was one of the things she said. And I'm sitting there, I'm a television presenter for the BBC, I'm a national spokesman for the Green Party, and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? and so I then leave her and get on a train. She lived near Hassocks in Sussex, or in Hassocks actually, and then I drove up or went up in the train to present a television program. But from that moment on, one of the things that was said, that she said, because she said, the first thing she said, she had no idea about this interaction in the Kensington Hilton. She's saying that they're telling me they know you wanted them to contact you, but the time wasn't right, and you know now you've been brought here to be contacted, and they said they're saying that you're going to be led to knowledge, and at other times knowledge will be put into your mind. Oh, all right, okay, what? So anyway, after, I mean, what I've been like, mate, all my life is I've never dismissed things that I can't know absolutely are not true. I have this policy, I put things on the back burner and I see what comes. And if more information comes to support it, there comes a point where there's so much information supporting that it crosses the line, and you know, you start to say, okay, I accept this is what's happening. But I don't just dismiss things, and never have, on the basis that they're different, just being the way I've always been. Yeah, it was. And you know, one of the things was that, you know, it was going to be tough. And so when I left her house and got on with life, very, very quickly, synchronicity, coincidences started to occur, where I'd meet people, come across information, come across books, come across documents, whatever, that were starting to like hand me puzzle pieces. And I started to realize as it built up and it built up and it built up that actually the world was not like I thought it was. Well, not like I thought it was. I didn't really have a view on that. I never did believe that politicians around the world. I always felt there was something else.
You know, perspective is a word that seems very simple, but I think it's very powerful. It's very easy to get seduced into making something small a lot larger than it is. And perspective simply reminds us to go to 50,000 feet on a bad day and count our blessings. Perspective simply reminds us that things could be a lot worse. Perspective on a bad day is simply understanding that we live in a world where half the world's population lives on less than $2.50 a day. Perspective on a bad day is reminding yourself of that Persian proverb which says, "I cursed the fact I had no shoes until I saw the man who had no feet." Perspective is such a powerful word. Here's a great question on a bad day to bring on some perspective. Has anyone died here? So perspective is something I really want you to think about, and on a bad day, it will actually allow you to turn the lead into gold and really pivot. Which brings me to the second P of turning a bad day into a great day, and it's pivot. And here's the question to really help you pivot. WTOH. What's the opportunity here? So you're having a bad day, maybe you had a fight with someone, maybe you lost the big sale, maybe someone cut you off in traffic and then you didn't get your favorite lunch, and then you missed getting into Soul Cycle class, and then you had a difficulty on the way home. So let's say that's happening. You simply run the WTOH question, which will allow you to pivot. WTOH, what's the opportunity here? See, there's great power in a question, and it allows your brain to hunt for something good. And so how do you pivot? You ask yourself, what's the opportunity here? You have a fight with someone, let's say one of your family members. You say, what's the opportunity here? Well, your brain then starts to look for the opportunity, which is, I can learn how to communicate better. Or this is an opportunity for me to show forgiveness and grow in my personal bravery. This is an opportunity for me to understand my family member better. It's a great and powerful question. Which brings me to my third P in turning a bad day into a great day. And it's really pharmacy. The third P is pharmacy. And that's all about moving. When I have a difficult day, here's one of the first things I do. I will get on my mountain bike and I will ride like a bat out of wherever through the forest, and that releases dopamine in my brain, which is the neurotransmitter of inspiration. And that releases serotonin. Moving, right, on the bicycle, it releases serotonin, which is the pleasure neurotransmitter. And it cuts down on my cortisol, which is the fear hormone. So just simply going for a mountain bike ride, or going for a swim, or getting into yoga class, or something as simple as going for a walk, or maybe even doing jumping jacks when no one's looking, will create a pharmacy of mastery within your brain, which will affect your psychology, your neurobiology, and your interior life, which makes you just feel a lot better.
You need to feed your mind. Now, a lot of times people say, yeah, you know, when I'm down in the dumps just a little bit, I really enjoy listening because it gives me a lift. Well, I'm glad to hear that, but let me give you the most surprising news maybe you've ever heard. It's good to listen when you're down. But folks, the ideal time to listen is when you're sky high. Let me tell you why. When you're down, sometimes you grab at straws, and sometimes you grab the wrong straw. Also, a lot of times, and here's the real benefit to listening, it triggers your imagination, stirs up all of the stored information which you already have in your mind, and a lot of the good ideas then come forth. But if you're too down to accept them, then you turn away the very best ideas of all. Listen when you're up, And then with those endorphins popping, and they do pop as a result of listening to good motivational recordings, when you listen then and new ideas pop in your mind, it generates even more excitement. Here's what we've discovered. You need to listen at least 16 times to get the complete message. That's the reason I say listen to this over 16 times, because you will get all of it then. It will become a part of you. Let me say it again. You probably have been in the process of making decisions right now. As you listen, you will make those decisions. But as you listen over and over, the decision changes to commitment. And once you've made the commitment, then you will seek the training which will make the difference, because that means behavior changes. And when you change behavior, then you start developing winning habits. And that's what this is really all about. Step number 7, if you want to build a winning attitude, you need to take time, and this is probably going to surprise you based on what you've heard me say so far, but you need to take time to be quiet. You know, the average American sleeps 30 minutes too late every day. And when that opportunity clock does sound off, they hit the floor, I mean, in a dead run. They scoot past the kiddies' room on the way to the kitchen. They bang on the door, and they say, "Get up, kids, we got to go to school." Now, I don't have to tell you again, we were late yesterday morning. Don't want it to happen again. And they scoot on back to the kitchen. They plug in the coffee maker and the toaster, and on the way back by the kids' room, they bang again. Now, what I tell you, not going to have to tell you again. They scoot in, they get dressed real fast. You know, they shave and apply their makeup, and by then the kids are up. They rustle them into the den, and they set a bowl of cereal in front of them, turn the television set on, running their mind and their body all at the same time. They gulp their breakfast down, they hop in their car, and woe be to that person who dares to pull in on them when they've got the traffic jump on them. I mean, it will be too bad for them if they do. They hustle down, they drop their kids out, they rush on down to their work, and they're busy all day, and in the evening they come home and repeat that process, and by the time they get ready for bed, after watching 3.5 hours of television, they are exhausted.